right, so let's get an update from the White House now on the breaking news that we began the hour with here on The Story. Iran moving 5 Americans from prison to house arrest, reportedly as part of a prisoner swap that would also give Iran limited access to billions of dollars that is intended to be used for humanitarian purposes. So we're glad to be joined by John Kirby, the National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications. John, welcome. It's good to have you with us today. What can you tell us about these individuals and when you expect that they will be home?
There are 5 of them. Not all of them want to be named, but they are now out of Evin prison. In fact, one of the 5 already was under house arrest, but we got 4 moved into house arrest today. We have been able to, through our Swiss representatives, get eyes on them, know that they are in fact in house arrest and out of prison, which is a good thing. And now we want to do what we can to look after their health and well-being as best we can. So when they come home, we don't know. I mean, they are out of prison, which is a good thing, because Evin prison is pretty intolerable, but they're not out of Iran yet, Martha. So we're still really at the beginning of a set of negotiations to try to get them home. Yeah,
I mean, universally, everyone is happy for these individuals and for their families. The goal is always to bring people home, and it's great to see that. There are questions about how it came about and the billions of dollars that Iran would have access to. I spoke earlier in the program to Masih Alinejad, who is a very well-known activist against the mullahs, and here's what she said, and I want to get your thoughts on a reaction to what she said here. Let's watch.
Sure. Biden administration must be transparent and let the Americans and Iranians know that how much money exactly they gave to these people, because the money right now goes to morality police, to kill innocent people like Mahsa Jina Amini, to kill Nikah Karimi, to kill Sarina. This money goes to Iranian Revolutionary Guards to hang innocent people who support women life freedom movement.
So what do you say to that, John?
Well, I can feel the passion there just listening to her to her talk, and we're certainly mindful of all the bad things that Iran does to its own people and to people throughout the region. This is a dangerous nation state, and it's one we continue to challenge. I don't want to get ahead of where we are, though, Martha, in terms of these negotiations. Getting them out of prison is a good first step. But it's still a delicate set of negotiations, and I just don't think it's helpful for me to go into much detail over what it's going to take to eventually secure their freedom. Now, look, when they get back home, she made a point about transparency. If we're successful and if we can get them back home, and hopefully that'll happen soon, you bet I'll come back on your show and we'll talk about all the things that had to be done to make that happen. I'll be happy to do it and answer any questions that people have. But right now, we just want to make sure they're okay and we can continue to work to get them home.
Understood. I'm sure their families are looking forward to that as well. Want to show you some new polling on Ukraine and on U.S. support for the efforts there. The United States has approved $43 billion, more money coming recently to support Ukraine. This poll says 51% of the U.S. say, of those polled, the U.S. has done enough to stop Russian military actions in Ukraine, and 48% say that we should do more. Those numbers have moved over the past few months, John, in the direction of we've done enough to help. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I think, sure, there's lots of people all over the world that want this war to end, and we understand that. Heck, the Ukrainian people want it to end. They want it to end more than anybody. They'd love to see this war over and have their cities not be bombed and their children not taken away and abducted or their spouses killed. We all want to see it end. But I also think that the American people understand what's at stake here. It's bigger than just Ukrainian sovereignty, although that is first and foremost what it's about. It's about Mr. Putin. It's about sending a strong message to Russia that they can't just take another nation by force. And if he succeeds, Martha, I think the American people understand that if we just walk away from this and Putin is able to subjugate Ukraine, where does it stop then? And if you think that the cost to the United States has been high in supporting Ukraine, think about what the cost would be in blood and in treasure if Mr. Putin feels empowered to go ahead and attack NATO's eastern flank. Then we're in it, and we're in it in a big way. And I think the polls notwithstanding, I think the American people understand what's at stake here.
Okay. One last question. I know you saw Peter Doocy's question to the president yesterday. The president said, "I never talked business to anybody." But Devin Archer testified that the point of putting the speakerphone down at those meetings, which is what Peter was asking about, was just to demonstrate access, that Hunter had access to the then vice president, and to sell the Biden brand. So what do you say about that, John? And when will the president actually answer some of these questions to put some of this to rest himself?
Oh, my goodness, Martha. I mean, he just did with Peter. I mean, he's the one who called Peter over and had Peter, risk life and limb cutting across that barrier. I mean, he specifically called Peter over.
Right.
And he, look, he knows Peter. He knows Peter's not going to ask some softball question about, how his vacation was. He knows who Peter is, and he answered that question. And I don't know what it's going to take.
He didn't answer whether or not he
Martha,
was on speakerphone in those meetings, John. He just said, I never talked business to anybody.
The question was about business, and he answered it consistently with what he said so many times before. He's been very consistent that he wasn't talking business.
But the question is, was he allowing his presence, on speakerphone to speak volumes? Was he allowing that presence to say, this is my son, he has access to me, while he's talking to Ukrainian businessmen, Chinese businessmen, Russian businessmen, after the invasion of Crimea, as Katie Pavlich just pointed out?
I just don't know how many times he's going to have to say no to the same question. And he said it consistently. He's been consistent about this. There were no discussions about business with his son or his son's business partners. And again, he called Peter over. And I'm not saying he knew that was the question, but he certainly knew it wasn't going to be a softball, and he answered it.
Which Peter appreciated, absolutely. Everybody likes to have the opportunity to ask questions to the president, and I know Peter said he appreciated having that opportunity. So we'll see where it goes from here. John Kirby, as always, thank you very much for taking the time with us. It's good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.